Pinocchio is the classic example of a coming-of-age story. In it, Pinocchio begins as all children do. He's reckless, thoughtless, and hurts people by accident. With the help of Jiminy Cricket, he learns how to behave himself and sees the consequences of misbehaving. By the end of the tale, he's learned his lesson and sets off to live his life with Geppetto. As a story, Pinocchio delivers a few solid morals while entertaining the audience with song, dance, and memorable characters. Guillermo del Toro's Pinocchio does all the same things but wraps it in a World War II aesthetic and updates parts of the story to fit the theme while focusing more on the drama and less on the musical aspects. Hello and welcome to my channel. Here I review new movies and television shows and try to release a new review every day from Monday to Friday. Today we're going over Guillermo del Toro's Pinocchio. It was directed by Guillermo del Toro and Mark Gustafsson. It was adapted from the original story by Carlo Collodi. The screenplay was written by Guillermo del Toro and Patrick McHale, and it stars Ewan McGregor, Gregory Mann, and David Bradley. The movie is fun, plays with strong emotions, has an amazing cast, and the visuals are creative and lifelike. But the soundtrack is a little lackluster, and the story itself is long and doesn't have any stakes. Pinocchio isn't in any real danger, and despite the film's attempts at giving him consequences, the wooden boy gets off quite light. Toward the end of the film, there is a whiff of real consequences, but within 5 minutes of introducing them, the film reverses its position and erases them. It takes away from the gravity of the situation and gives the entire film an aloof feeling that isn't very compelling. Let's start with the positives. The movie does a few things really well. It sells you on the emotions from the start of the film straight to the end, and it spends a lot of time fleshing them out. We see a lot of Carlo and Geppetto's relationship and how it broke Geppetto when his son died. Then it brings in Pinocchio, and we get to watch this wonderful father-son relationship unfold. We see how much they mean to each other, and both Geppetto and Pinocchio grow a lot over the course of the film. David Bradley as Geppetto and Gregory Mann as Pinocchio both do an excellent job of voicing their characters. There's so much emotion and passion in their dialogue that it was easy to get caught up in their performances. Mann plays Pinocchio like a spoiled brat, completely unaware of how his actions affect the world around him. In the beginning, he's loud and annoying, but as the story unfolds, he becomes a calmer, more sympathetic character, and the emotions Mann pours into the dialogue shine through. Bradley's Geppetto goes through a roller coaster of emotions, and he shows an insane vocal range. He goes from a tragic character to a loving father. Bradley plays the transition wonderfully. Ewan McGregor and Christoph Waltz are both in here as well, with McGregor playing Jiminy Cricket and Waltz playing the carnival ringleader Count Volpe. They don't get as much time as the leads, but both manage to make a big impact. Waltz plays Volpe as a charming villain. He uses his silver tongue to trick Pinocchio and then turns nasty when Pinocchio tries to leave. McGregor as Sebastian J. Cricket uses his own voice instead of trying to imitate the original, but puts a lot of emotion and passion into the dialogue. He's a soft-spoken but stern writer who finds himself caught up in Pinocchio's journey. The majority of his time is spent as comic relief, but he manages to slip in a few good lessons. McGregor has great comedic timing and does his job well. Aside from the 3 major stars I've already mentioned, the entire cast contains several more legendary actors who appear to do minor roles. They're well done, but you would never guess who voiced most of them. Like Spazitura the monkey is voiced by Cate Blanchett. She says 3 or 4 whole lines in goofy tones, but tells an entire story in the way she says it. It's incredible how many great little side characters there are in this movie. Visually, this film looks amazing. At moments, the stop-motion claymation feels almost lifelike. They captured the characters' emotions in perfect detail, and with the way everybody moves and talks, you would think this was an animated film. The characters have a fantastic flavor to their design, and I just loved creepy Pinocchio's introduction. The way he crawled around at first was horrific, and the carefree way he destroyed Geppetto's shop gave me the heebie-jeebies. Guillermo del Toro did a good job updating the story to fit his new aesthetic, and he definitely brings something new to the classic tale, while keeping the morals at the core. I really enjoyed the supernatural elements he added to the story. However, the movie is a little slow and uneventful. It doesn't have Disney music to prop it up, and an element they introduced to the film early on removes any and all sense of danger. It makes the film feel like a longer and more expensive version of Robot Chicken. It presents you with a lot of gag humor and some music to tide you over between the big emotional moments. There are a few good jokes, but both the comic relief and soundtrack failed to keep you invested. In this movie, there aren't that many songs. They don't last that long, and they aren't cinematic moments. They're more like a nice little cherry on top than a feature of the film. It sounds like the actors sang their own songs, and while it's fitting, it doesn't sound great. The accompanying music isn't all that catchy either. The soundtrack in general is a little muted, both volume-wise and emotionally. The tracks fit well enough, but it feels like the story is what brings the emotions rather than the score. Having seen another rendition of Pinocchio recently in which the songs were the feature of the film, I have to say that Del Toro's Pinocchio feels a little bit empty without them. I enjoyed the film and think that it was a solid retelling of the classic tale. It works well for kids, and adults will be able to enjoy the story at different moments. It isn't blowing anyone's mind, but it's quite well done. 7 out of 10.